we spend too much time in these chambers. I think that we can get to our business, handle it, and move on. We have constituents we need to be dealing with out there in the community. We have our families we need to be dealing with. We have the youth. We have the seniors. There's a lot of other things we can do rather than sitting in here talking to each other back and forth. But that's your right. But I'm just telling you, I think we spend a lot of time in too much meetings talking too much.
Now there, if QA has ever exposed what he does on that council, he did it right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. Today is New Year's Eve, actually.
Yep.
And a shout out to a friend of mine. Happy birthday, Melissa. Now, George Myers, president accounted for.
Yes, here.
Mr. Jim Spodek, the cause of it all. And myself, Dr. Ken Jorgen, your host, who is doing his best to put up with the world. You know, I find it interesting that both the sheriff and the chief of police felt compelled to weigh in on a city council's recent decision to lower the impact of a first offense marijuana simple possession kind of a charge, reduce the fines and the impact on a person's life, in spite of the fact that there was overwhelming support on the part of the voters in a recent non-binding referendum.
That was interesting.
You know, they come out and say, "Oh no, we ain't gonna put up with that."
Whose fire department? Whose police department is it? Sheriff's department?
Yeah.
Well,
Yours, or is it
who's
the
in
people's?
charge?
Well, you know what I wonder is why haven't they had the time or the inclination, the inspiration to investigate this complaint that a citizen has brought forward about Machinery Row in April of 2017? I mean, it's you contact them, it's like, well, we don't know where that is.
Right.
Well,
Can't find it.
We can't find it.
Quick
Yeah.
complaint.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, exactly. That's the question. You know, I mean, smoking pot. Oh, we can allow that.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars, probably due to fraud, lost out of the public funds. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah, we can't seem to find that.
Yeah, we can't.
Right.
Even, so.
Right. It's inept. It's the whole system's inept. I mean, here, you know, we talked about this earlier. Who's really in charge? Who's in charge of?
Boy,
of
that's
the
a
community?
good question.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we can just, you know, I'm going to throw it on the table. We got this just this recent article that was in the Racine Journal-Times, which I want to commend the reporters of that Journal-Times article. They did a great job on that article with the police officer that apparently drunk driving, crashed a car. 10 days later, they can't find a report, and I'm sure people are kind of familiar with it. But
is this guy going on administrative leave too?
well,
how many we got on administrative leave? There's
here's
like
the thing. I mean, as we went through this, and we're just going to touch on this a little bit, but he apparently was drunk driving. He didn't submit himself to a drug
A blood test.
Yeah.
But they did apparently get blood. But he's not charged with drunk driving. He's charged, now they're sending it to the crime lab to analyze the blood test. Well, if you're caught drunk driving, they do a test on you. If you don't, they automatically charge you with drunk driving. You're automatically charged. That's just the way it is.
And anything else? Resisting arrest?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is like this soft soap arrest job. Anyway, but I think one of the things that I think is an issue we should bring up is the fact that the attorney that's representing him is on the Racine Police and Fire Commission. His name's Cafferty.
Well, that doesn't sound right.
Well,
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I am sure about it.
So there's a guy that's on the Police and Fire Commission who's an attorney, and he's representing a police officer who is, what was he arrested? Was he arrested even?
That's a question. I don't know. I can't.
Well, the point is he's charged with it.
Yeah, he's charged.
And the person on the police and fire department who is in charge of hiring policemen,
Yeah.
you know, is the defense. Now that's an obvious conflict of interest.
That's about as
Yeah,
about
yeah,
as much as you
and
can.
there's one of two things that needed that. One was before that happened. Any lawyer going on that police and fire commission agrees not to get involved with a legal case with regards to that. You just can't. That's a conflict of interest. And if you decide you have to, then you should just get off the commission.
Right, you should resign.
Yeah.
He should be asked
It's
to resign.
ridiculous.
If you are going to continue to represent him, he should be asked to resign.
Now, right now, he's saying he's not going to get involved with this particular officer's case as part of the police and fire commission. But in my mind, that's not enough. There's too much influence there over other members of the Police and Fire Commission.
Have we got so few attorneys in town that this guy is the only one that's available to represent this officer?
Well, it's just not all right, and we can find other attorneys to be on the Police and Fire Commission.
And can we find anyone in the city, when we talk about who's in charge, that says, hey, maybe this isn't correct? I mean, I give the Journal a plus because they brought it up.
A rare compliment. Yes.
Well, they did a good job with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact is anybody in the administration stepping up and saying, hey, whoa, this isn't right? The mayor, the common council, I mean, they're always non-existent. Marijuana is a perfect example that you just brought up.
Well, they can render an opinion about that.
Yeah.
But here, silence.
Oh, yeah, and they rendered opinion about something with the Paris Accord, something to do with environmental a while back. You know,
oh, geez.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna
get low flush toilets now because we're short of water here in Racine.
The point is the council, it does get involved with things outside of that, and something this close to home, they should at least speak up. I think so. The only question is how do they do it? You know, they are bound down by this agenda.
Well, they are awfully busy. Awfully busy. I think they're probably overburdened.
I think what they
that could be a problem.
Well, if you have, let's just say we had a common council that was in tune, they would come to the clerk's office. One of the, maybe more than one, would ask for a committee of the whole meeting. They would make a recommendation, or they would make a request to the clerk's office. I want on the agenda. I want to talk about the Police and Fire Commission and the attorney that is representing the officer on that committee, and I'd like to discuss that. I also would like to discuss the secret court that's been handled by one of our alder persons, which is now taken on almost national presence. I'd also like to have a committee of the whole and discuss what happened there, since they were involved with it. And then what about Machinery Row? Let's look back on that. We spent millions of dollars, but there's no discussion in that area, which now we have a criminal complaint. They know that there's a situation there that has not been...
It ain't kosher.
Right.
Wouldn't that be amazing, though, to have a council that was involved? Was that involved?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's almost surreal. Huh? What are you talking about,
who makes the final call on what is and is not included on the agenda? I mean, the council members make a recommendation. I would like this included on the agenda.
That's a good question.
It's not always included. I know that.
Well, there's a process of getting on the agenda, writing a letter to the clerk of courts. I mean, the city clerk saying you want to discuss something. It goes to a committee. The committee discusses, then it eventually gets to the council. That's the way things generally get on that agenda.
Well,
but the committee of the whole is a committee.
Right. No, I understand
that. It's not the common council. It's the same people, but don't confuse their procedures and their rules of Robert's rules type of thing with the two combined, because they have totally different rules, totally different ways they operate. It just happens to be the same people.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems as though some council members have, at times in the past, requested that an item be included on the agenda for the committee of the whole or for the council, and that request has not been met.
Well,
so who makes that decision about what is and is not included?
If it's committee of the whole, though, it's purely political.
Is saying yay or nay to items being on the agenda. Who is that individual?
Well, no, that's the president
of
the council.
So what can happen, and it's happened in the past, and if you remember back maybe about 6-8 months ago, they came through and they just cleaned off the committee of the committee of the whole agenda, saying, "Wow, these issues, it's over and past."
They just wiped them all out.
And wiped them out. And
too late.
So that's how they do it. They just delay it. We don't particularly like that, Alderman. We don't particularly want to talk about that subject. So we're not going to schedule it on the
that
agenda.
was my suspicion, and that's what I wanted to hear.
And that's exactly what's happening.
It's a real simple thing. They've set the procedure up on their common council rules. All you have to do is ask, "I want to be put on a council." The committee of the whole, and it's set up that it must occur within 60 days or 30 days, something like that. That procedure's been set up. All you have to do is ask, and then it's on the agenda.
Is it followed? That's the question.
That depends. And that's going to depend. I tell you what, it's going to depend on two things. One is the president of the council, fight for three things. Another is the members of the council, they're going to back it. And the third thing is going to be the people themselves. Are they going to put up with a president that only wants to deal with the things he wants to deal? Are we going to let it be political?
Does the city attorney inject his power into this at any point?
Well,
he's just going to call it the rules. He's not going to initiate anything. He'll only do something if you ask him, Mr. City Attorney, was it okay not to do that? You know, type of thing. That's all.
But I believe there's some outside forces within the administration that pulls and pushes those agenda items.
There's no question about that. I shouldn't say there's no question, but I would not be a bit surprised to find out the mayor says over to the president, try and shove that thing to the background, would you?
Right, exactly. And I think there's a lot of
that thing out of the public's eyes.
Well, here's where I go. Here's the question. Are they irrelevant? Is the Common Council, has it become irrelevant to a representative, to a representative government? I mean, really, what have they actually discussed? What have they actually done?
Yeah.
I mean, in the last year and a half, what can you have? I mean,
well, you've got a video, haven't you, of the recent city council meeting? And
I do. And
why don't we share with our viewers what they were discussing? You want to do that?
Okay, good.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I certainly support the notion of, potentially reducing the number of meetings occasionally throughout the year to allow whether that's engaging with constituents and reviewing, the year on end, or allowing alders to have a clear sense of when we're not going to be meeting so we can take time with our families. But with that, I initially expected that there would have been some dialogue as a body before codifying the calendar as it's presented to us tonight.
All right. Now, there's an interesting, Jim, you ask, is the council being irrelevant? Well, there is an attempt to make it irrelevant.
Yeah.
Let's have fewer meetings,
Right.
And here's, some of these cliches, I think, just creep into some of these council members' mind. We want to spend more time with our family. Oh, that sounds really nice. You're talking about the 3 hours every 2 weeks that you go to a council meeting is robbing your family of you. You can't find any time to spend with them because of 3 hours every 2 weeks.
Well,
it just sounds good. Then it's how we need to spend time with our family.
Meetings too. In fairness, George,
but he's not talking about committee meetings. And he's talking about the 3 hours to the council meeting.
We're talking about reducing common council meetings.
I'm sympathetic with these people. I think they're overworked. I mean, I think we're overworked. We're here every week. I mean,
it's hard.
So I understand.
This takes as longer than a council meeting.
I understand that the burden
what I
that
have to wade through prior to the show.
Yeah,
with these two guys.
I realize that it is.
And they got to put up with me.
It's not easy.
But you're right. Well, now he's asking. He's saying, "Well,
we don't get paid.
Yeah, that's right. We get paid.
These guys are making money.
Yeah, where's my $7,000 a year?
Yeah,
$10,000 a year, whatever it is now. They got it up there.
But here it is. They're asking the calendar is being presented to the council at this December 4th Common Council meeting. They're reducing the Common Council meetings in January and July from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting a month. So they're taking out 2 meetings a year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what a relief to John. He can now visit his family. He can actually see his family.
Doesn't know his mother.
John, you should be appreciative of that.
You hardly recognize.
But now he brings it up to Letney, the city attorney, and said, maybe we should have discussed this prior to this meeting.
Yeah, we got it.
You want us to vote on this? Why didn't we talk about it at least last time?
The amazing thing is they voted on millions of dollars to be blown. They have no problem with that. But now with the committee, the calendar, let's make sure we got that calendar right. It's just, it's really
I'm proud of them, Jim. I'm proud of them.
The new ordinance that was just passed requires the Common Council to set the calendar for the upcoming year at the first Common Council meeting in December.
So we should have met before this about these items.
Why? No, Lenny makes a good point there. He makes a very good point. Why does a rubber stamp need more time to make a decision?
Right. He's right. He's absolutely right.
You don't need any.
You guys rubber stamp millions of dollars. What's this? This is nothing.
Now, I agree with you.
A rubber stamp doesn't need a bunch of time.
And
it's just that's exactly why police and fire commission have conflict of interest. The marijuana ordinance that you actually worked on and passed got nowhere. The secret court with Sandy Widener, you guys all met in there and just, yes, whatever, send Sandy to the secret court. And then Machinery Row, millions of dollars blown, you can't figure it out. And you got a police report or a police complaint out there. Well, we don't know anything. I mean,
they're like pigs in a slaughterhouse, you know. It's like, well, it's okay if you kill that one, but leave us alone over here.
Truthfully, I really believe they become irrelevant. They really.
Well, you know, I'm trying to review here the things they get involved with, and generally they are relatively trivial things.
Do they need a defibrillator for the fire department?
Yeah,
I get that.
Well, that they get involved in, yes, you're absolutely right. But what they vote on...
they vote on some big things, but those go right by them real fast.
They vote on millions of dollars, and they just kind of like, you know, they look sincere and sober and nod and vote yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, the piddly little things they talk about endlessly.
Yeah, if they spend time on something, it's generally a PowerPoint presentation by a group that's done a $300,000 study so that they can spend $50 million.
Right.
Now they spend some time at it, but it's not their own creation. It's not their own discussion.
So, I mean, I think, was there a moment where some of these council members thought, well, you know, the police chief and the sheriff are saying, hey, you know what, that's great, you guys passed all that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're not going to pay attention to that.
I mean, do you think they've got, maybe it clicked and said, geez, maybe that wasn't right. Maybe we aren't in charge. Do you think that happens? I mean, you think that goes through
going back to the complaint on Machinery Row, why the heck aren't the police and the sheriff concerned about that?
Because
there's millions of dollars involved that need to be investigated.
Listen, Doc, you got a kid selling marijuana, 16-year-old kid selling marijuana on the corner, or got it in his pocket.
Maybe he's just smoking marijuana.
Okay,
maybe he's not even smoking it. Maybe he's.
We're going to nail his. We're going to put a felony charge on him. We're going to drag him through the rig. We're going to run him through the money mill. But you and now the guy what you're clicking cocktail glasses with.
Yeah.
Geez, he spent $1 million. He lost it. Well, they really had it. They had good intentions on that $1 million.
All right, let's take a pause right here for a moment. George, I want you to explain to people what our official policy is on drug use.
Yeah, I'd really, you know, when we get into this going on between the police chief and the council and on this drug legalization type of thing, just want you to understand. At least this is my opinion on it. I think Doc and Jim agree. We are not supporting the use of drugs. That is, you know, I am adamantly against it. Very much against
adamantly.
it. Adamantly
You're
against
committed.
it. Yeah, to me, it's dangerous to you and anybody that uses it, even marijuana. You should not be doing it. But at the same time, it can't be made illegal. You can't go to jail because you make a bad decision. That makes it just even worse.
Absolutely.
And what I would recommend the council do, and you might want to have a meeting about this with your drug legalization, is to also start a program on drug education. Because I've seen some drug education programs that work pretty darn good, and after the kids go through it, they say, you know what, that's not for me.
Right.
So it can be done, and it should be done. But at the same time, in the face of making it illegal, all you're doing is wrecking people's lives over trivial incidents, and you're splitting up families. You're doing all kinds of destruction and spending lots of money. $100 million we spend. 100 billion. Sorry, got the wrong number. $100 billion on the war on drugs.
Yep.
That's just enforcing it. It has nothing to do with the amount of drugs that's changing hands. We're talking about $100 billion in taxpayers' money to enforce the drug laws. Those are nice things to handle, but the point is the real issue is just individual rights and responsibility. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah,
in the meantime, you know,
clarify where we're at.
Well, we're close to an identical position on that. When I ran for Congress recently, my position was that they should just repeal the law. Yeah. I mean, you know, the law should not even be involved in that particular situation.
Well, that's what they did with the prohibition. They just repealed it.
Yeah, just repeal it. And that's where. And what my position is, I don't care if you smoke a little pot or you don't smoke a little pot. You know, and most people who do decide that they don't like it. Some people like it.
I care, but I care for you. But I don't care from my standpoint that you're wrecking my life by doing it.
Well,
all I care is that you're wrecking your life.
Well, here's the thing that I object to. I don't want this to become a commercialized product where it's advertised openly in newspapers, on television, on the radio, and so on and so forth, and we got these marijuana millionaires running around in sharkskin suits. If somebody wants to throw a few seeds in their backyard and smoke something with their neighbor or themselves and watch the sun go down, I could care less.
The effort they put in there, put the effort into an audit, put the
Yeah.
effort into the secret court, put an effort into Machinery Row, put the effort in. You guys are socially engineering certain things that you feel are important. There are things that are important about the marijuana issue, but I think you missed it. And so now, what about
It's a glamour topic.
It's a glamour topic.
Yeah,
It's a way to, I got, I got, but it really,
Drama.
believe me, it isn't as big an issue as there is a lot of other things that can happen in a community.
If you could, I tell you what, if you could deregulate this city, if you could handle some of these bureaucrats and the impediments they're putting to new businesses coming into
God, yes.
if you could get that tax rate down to that of Mount Pleasant in Caledonia, you'd do a lot more for this community than legalizing drugs does. Now, I'm not saying that legalizing drugs isn't going to help some conditions. It probably will.
Yeah.
But the point is, there are other things that are just as important, if not more important, than that issue, and you're not putting the time in you need on those other issues that Jim just listed.
Exactly.
And that's what
it's in
kind of
face.
what we're here for. That's what
Yeah.
Jim keeps bringing out, and for Ken and I to find out about it. And say,
Well,
wow, Jim, good.
why have they lost track of this criminal complaint about the
That's
millions
amazing.
of dollars that have been lost on Machinery Row?
It's one
why-
thing to say
why-
we've
they can't even
investigated
find
and
the
we're not going to
complaint.
prosecute it,
Right.
but to say we can't find it.
Well, let's go on. Let's get the rest of this.
It is my sense in the discussion of, having one meeting a month occasionally is to allow us to recover sometimes. I mean, because the schedule is essentially every Tuesday, every week of the year, forever.
Recover?
Hold on, let me recover from that comment.
Jeez. I'm going to have to
John,
recover from this episode.
you're a young, ambitious dude. Don't tell me that you can't get through a council meeting without feeling horribly oppressed and depressed and need time to recover.
And that's fine, but every other legislative body throughout this state and the country do have sessions where they're not constantly doing that. And I think it's also a good message to send to folks who may want to engage the council in certain things that please plan ahead. We had a lot of issues in the last year where it was like the week before and we had to take up an item the same day that was presented in Common Council. And I think it's important that we start to say that we're going to plan ahead, so should everybody else.
Did I hear a message of victimhood there, a claim of victimhood? Every other municipal body.
Well, I think he was talking about other levels of government.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, he was talking about like the Racine City Council is oppressive beyond any other.
Well, the other
Assembly,
take
the other
recesses.
Senate.
But
Yeah,
let's
city
face
body.
it, when you look at the other levels of government, they are in session for a lot longer than
Exactly.
3 hours every 2 weeks. Now, here's the other thing. The council addresses can meet every 2 weeks, and once in a while, a council member cannot make a meeting.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
something comes up. And so they get excused, and it's announced at the beginning of the meeting that a council member is excused. There's no penalties. There's nothing happened.
Yeah.
Business takes place. They're missing one of the 15 council members, or sometimes two, but generally it's just one. So there are ways to if something comes up that you have to miss it. But let's not pretend that compare yourself to those other levels of government. They're on totally
The other
different
thing
schedules.
is prepare yourself. So we have to be prepared. So you have to prepare yourself. So we're going to train you to prepare so we can have it a little easier. Another one.
We spend too much time in these chambers. I think that we can get to our business, handle it, and move on. We have constituents we need to be dealing with out there in the community. We have our families we need to be dealing with. We have the youth. We have the seniors. There's a lot of other things we can do rather than sitting in here talking to each other back and forth. But that's your right. But I'm just telling you, I think we spend a lot of time in too much meetings talking too much.
If QA has ever exposed what he does on that council, he did it right there.
Exactly.
He's speaking for himself.
Right.
He's not speaking for all the other members on the council.
I disagree with you. I don't think he's speaking for himself because he has a reputation for being unresponsive to his constituents.
Well, I understand.
So he's
that.
using that as
I'm
a
just saying
justification for not meeting.
wasting his time, where he's not spending, where he could be out talking with other people.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
but I'm talking about when he's talking about he's wasting his time talking too much on the council. That's QA. He is.
Yeah.
He's wasting our time by talking about it.
No,
It's a shame because that and I think he's pretty high up in the altitude on the council, and for someone as high up as he is, been on there as long as he is, it's a shame that he thinks that way because
he chairs the finance committee, for crying out loud.
Well, and that bleeds off into the other members of the council, and the council can begin to feel like, well, are we just worthless? And you're not. The council is not worthless unless you make yourself worthless.
Right, and that's what they're doing. I really do believe. I mean, there's plenty of issues that they can inject themselves into and should inject themselves in. They don't do it.
Well, the council is designed for them to inject themselves into it.
Right.
And it's right there. I think you mentioned it before. It might not be on the agenda, but they have a way of getting it on a agenda that's a very powerful agenda, and that's the committee of the whole, right, Jim?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
And yep, absolutely. One last older person.
Okay.
Alderman Meadmar.
Thank you, and I just want to make two brief statements here. Just first, commending the effort that was put in putting this calendar together. I completely support it. I think it's nice in the fact that we have it, but also in the sense that this is an effort, again, to improve processes and make things more clear and giving us future projections so we can be prepared for things that are coming up.
2 days off is going to do all that, huh?
I mean,
2 days a year.
Listen, we got a few
6
things.
hours out of the year.
Yeah.
Am I awake?
Is he awake? I mean, that's
By the way,
the president
that was the president of the council.
President of the council.
So I mean, that pretty much spells it out.
Yeah.
In fact, he's going to be a guest on the show one of these days, I
I hope
believe.
he does, because I mean, I'm not trying to, but there is some real questions that need to be asked, and I just don't see it. Like I say, I don't know. Are they really in charge? Are they really relevant? I don't know. I really don't know.
Boy, I wish they were. I wish they would get.
I wish they
relevant.
would lead the community, which they should do, but they don't.
Yeah. Well, they kind of defer to the mayor and the administration an awful lot. They are our elected representatives. They're the guys that are supposed to be designing and driving the agenda.
Right.
They are the governing body. It is not the mayor. It is not the staff. That is the guiding body, and that's
it's not
it's in their handbook, and it's in law. It's in the state statutes. It is the common council that is, and it's up to them to step up to the plate and take a swing at that ball when it comes down. They can't just go back in the grandstands and say, "Well, I'll let somebody else do it."
Yeah.
Yep. That's unfortunately what they're doing. And in that picture. Is it still up there? Melissa Lemke to the left there.
Yeah.
She was a good example when the arena was up. I mean, she had done her research and she was cut off and trying to explain her research, but nevertheless she'd done her work and she was stepping up to the plate and she was doing what
you occasionally you'll find one of them that steps up, but I mean there's a multiple issues within the city of Racine and they just get swept under the rug and it's just glassed over and there's no investigation into any of it. And those are the things that the citizens see. I don't care what the aldermen think, well, it's just going to go away. It doesn't go away. It's still out there, and they see it.
Well, we're embarking on a whole new year here, starting today, or tomorrow, actually. But that's about it for 2018, huh?
Yep.
Been a heck of a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's
been interesting.
Yeah, it has. And we got another one coming up tomorrow, so...
Yeah. And there's going to be one after that and one after that. So
keep
hang in there, folks.
Keep going around and around.
It ain't quitting anytime soon.
Anyway, it's been great having you guys with us for the past year, and we look forward to spending some time with you in 2019. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in a week. Thanks for being here.